Hey there, folks. My name's Ian Levinstein, and welcome to a Comic Timing Extra Point. This one's probably going to be a little bit faster and quicker than the usual Extra Points, as I'm recording this on my phone right before I head into this year's New York Comic Con. It came to my attention, and obviously this is the case, but I didn't even really realize it until I went on Wikipedia and I was looking at some information on previous New York Comic Cons, that this is the 19th New York Comic Con. And this is the 19th New York Comic Con that I am attending. I haven't been to all days of every New York Comic Con, but I've been there for at least a day every single time. Most of the time, I've been there all the time, but there were 2 years where I had a wedding to attend that weekend and was unable to attend the entire con. Happened most recently about 2 years ago, where I got basically a day and a half in and then had to head over to Boston, but still counts as a streak. And I am happily attending the con for my 19th time this weekend. And it got me to think about the fact that this podcast is about to reach its 20th year. And I find that insane. The show had only really existed for a couple of months when New York Comic Con launched. I remember attending the first con and releasing that episode on Geek Speak. So that says about how long I've been podcasting. Comic Timing itself didn't actually exist until after the launch of New York Comic Con. I correct myself, but that first New York Comic Con, where they had to call in the fire marshal because there were too many people trying to get into the con at once. This was back when New York Comic Con was not in the entire Javits Center. It was only in the downstairs area. I barely got in through means of knowing where the other entrances to the Javits were, and then sat down in the cafeteria area for a little while, and then recorded on my mini disc player while people waited online, including at the time Dan DiDio, who back then was editor-in-chief of DC Comics, waiting online with everybody else, trying to get back into the convention. Basically, if you went to get lunch, you weren't able to get back in because that's how many people attended that year. Things have definitely changed. We've gone through multiple iterations of the Javits Center. We've had the original version of Javits North built and then torn down and replaced with a larger version of Javits North, which is now multiple floors, which allows New York Comic Con to have that much more space and a whole second stage that they're able to employ, as well as a much better dedicated panel room space than they used to be able to have. Although I still mourn the loss of the best bathrooms in all of Javits Center, which were in that original version of Javits North. But I think for the most part, this is a great improvement. So I'll probably be releasing this after my first day, as I'm recording this right before I'm about to hop in the shower and then head on the train, and then an hour later I'll be at the con. But part of me is just really reflecting on just how much my con strategy has changed over the years. I remember in those early days, it was all about buying stuff. Like I immediately went straight to the dealer's room or the exhibition hall, whatever you want to call it, and started flipping through, floppies and trying to find holes in my collection, going to discount trade bins and purchasing whatever made sense there, usually 50% off like Marvel or DC stuff, because that just tended to be what was available. And my strategy has most definitely changed since then. Now I'm much more about the experience and the content that can be consumed while I'm at the con, whether it be walking around and finding friends that I haven't seen in a year, because this is where I tend to see them. Haven't seen Buzz since last New York Comic Con, so it'll be nice to stop at his booth for a little bit and shoot the shit. Got a couple of other friends of the show that are going to be there for the first time in a while. Brent Schoonover is going to be at the con. Hope to get him on mic at some point. But also, that's kind of changed. Like back in the day, it was a lot easier just to stop at people's booths and talk to them for a couple of minutes. And now the con is so full and there's constant busyness that it's a lot harder to do that now. You know that because over the past couple of years, outside of maybe getting a few words from Jamal while I'm at Jamal's booth, really haven't gotten too many on-site interviews. We'll definitely be doing a post-con wrap-up this year with as many folks as I can get on the call. Definitely at least Chris and hopefully Jamal and maybe even a few others that are attending. Raph is attending for all 4 days this year as well, so hope to get him on for that as well. But way more about the panels now than I ever was when I first started attending cons. In fact, now that I think about it, I mean, hell, that first New York Comic Con, at that point, that was my first Comic Con. Period. I remember I was just getting into the habit of attending conventions at that point. I think Baltimore Comic Con was my second convention, if I remember correctly, or comic convention. I've been to a bunch of anime cons before that, which we affectionately call here at Comic Timing starter cons for folks that are looking to attend any sort of convention, because it's not just an anime con. You're gonna find comics content there. You're gonna find comics cosplayers there, because it tends to be a younger crowd starts at an anime convention and then they work their way to a Comic Con, or at least that was the case. I don't know if that's necessarily the case now. Here I am, I'm 41, and that basically makes me the age of the typical comic fan. Unfortunately, when I think about it, 19 years ago, I was one of the younger attendees, because I was still basically in college, and or at least just out of college, or was I in college? I think I might have still been. And yeah, actually, no, I was still in college at that point. Then make my way out of college to life outside of the world of school. But yeah, much more about what can keep me interested at a con now. Buying is second. I will definitely purchase a couple of cool looking books, which will then go on the shelf next to all the other cool books that I haven't had a chance to read yet from last year. But way less mainstream Marvel and DC stuff being purchased by me at this point, because most of my Marvel and DC reading happens via an app and an iPad. With Marvel Unlimited and with DC Infinite and all that, it's just way easier for me to go that route rather than, purchasing trades. And then, I'm definitely not buying single issues anymore. Like that hasn't happened in a while. The only way I'll actually buy a single issue now is to support a creator more than anything else. If I go to their booth and it looks like it's a creator that I enjoy and want to give them my money directly, and they're selling their stuff at their booth, whether it be a DC, a Marvel, or an independent, I may throw them a bone that way. I'd also like to buy actual books directly from creators. That's the best way to support a creator at a convention. Go to Artist Alley and flip through what they've got, and if they're selling books, you're literally giving them money that way. Even if it's made by a large publisher, they are still receiving the money from that purchase. And that is a great way to do it. Also buying, sketchbooks, or even, the occasional artwork from an artist or something like that is a great way to support the actual creator. The other thing that I very much tell people is that you should not be afraid to approach a creator and thank them for their work, and just let them know that they're appreciated. It doesn't have to be a long conversation. If you're able to, that's awesome. But if it's somebody that you appreciate, you don't know the next time you're going to see them. This day and age, we've had some of my favorite creators unfortunately pass away in the past couple of years. Peter David would be a perfect example of that. A creator that I luckily got to spend some time with multiple times over the years. And that was all part of being at conventions. First at San Diego Comic-Con, then a couple times at New York Comic-Con, and back when Chris Eberly used to run his Wild Pig shows, I had one great experience there as well. But don't be afraid to tell people thank you. In this industry, that really does go a long, long way. And a lot of creators go through tons of turmoil in order to get their works out, whether it be through independence or DC or Marvel or anything else. You don't know the struggles that they themselves have gone through to have their works available for you to enjoy. And if you throw them a bone as simple as a thank you, even if you can't purchase any of their stuff, that really does go a very, very long way. And I'm certainly going to be doing that a bunch this weekend as well. So what else is ahead? I'll be spending a lot of time with Chris and Raph, obviously, throughout the con. We'll be splitting off at multiple points as well. I'll also be attending with Martha on Saturday and Sunday, so my con will look a little bit different that day. Just as, she gets her time in at the con, and we attend a bunch of different panels and whatnot. But my appreciation for New York Comic Con has not waned. And I'm genuinely surprised by that, as a whole bunch of people that I know have either stopped attending or only go for a day or something like that because it's overwhelming for them. Maybe it's because I take my con a little bit easier. Like I'm sitting here at 12:55 p.m. on Thursday, and I'm not in really any rush to get there, before 2 or 3 today, because I got a long weekend ahead of me, and I got to pace myself a little bit. There's a couple of panels that I'd love to attend, but if I don't today, then so be it. The rest of the weekend is there, but. I also know that, con strategies will vary, but maybe also part of it is that, it's in my city and I feel like I can be a little bit more lax about it. But I did also pay a decent amount of money for this badge, so maybe I should use it as much as possible. But whatever, I'm not clamoring to get there immediately at open any of these days. Exclusives don't really rub me that way. Like I'm not clamoring to get a freaking Funko or anything of the sort. I may wind up at a couple of press events that Chris got invited to later today, depending on how much we want to travel and how exhausted we are afterwards. But really, it's just about making your own way through the con and making sure you have fun at the end of it. If you don't, then maybe it is time to stop attending. It is a money sink. Even if you don't wind up buying anything at the con, it is an expensive experience. But also, part of me feels like I'm amongst my people when I attend a convention like this, and that continues to be the case. Shockingly, after all these years, and I hope it continues to be the case moving forward. Anyway, yeah, I'll have more, obviously, throughout the weekend. I'm bringing the portable recorder with me. We may record on spot. We may also record in more Extra Point, Chris and I. And if that's the case, then maybe this will be the beginning of that particular recording, and there'll be more from there. Or I'll just release this out there, as I know I've been a little bit lackadaisical on releases of late. I've had a very busy work schedule the past couple of weeks, so with a whole bunch of waking up at 4 a.m. for UK events and stuff like that I've had to run. So that's part of the reason why it's been a little bit harder for me to plan. But also I knew New York Comic Con was coming up, and I was going to need to get my rest wherever possible. Also, there was this whole thing about the Yankees being in the playoffs, but I don't need to worry about that anymore, as I'm recording that the day after they lost. I'm throwing myself behind the Seattle Mariners, of course, now that I said that, for all they know they're going to wind up losing to the Tigers. But anybody who could take the Blue Jays out of the playoffs, that would make me very, very happy. If they somehow make it to the World Series, however, and they're facing the Dodgers, I will 100% be rooting for the Blue Jays because I need them Dodgers to lose. They are too good, and they do not deserve to win again, okay? I'm already happy that the Kansas City Chiefs are losing this year. So maybe, just maybe, someone else can win the World Series. That would be great. This has been your sports moment for this particular time here. But anyway, I told you it was going to be short, and it is. We'll be back to full releases sometime next week, definitely. I'll be recording one thing or another. I know that Gold Team, we still have a bunch of episodes that we're planning on that. Plus, Blue Team's got a whole bunch of stuff that they want to talk about, and maybe there'll even be some moving back and forth between different folks from different sides of the team fence, as it were, depending on the topic. And of course, obviously, this month's previews will be coming probably not this week, but next week, more than likely. But thanks for sticking in there. I really appreciate it. Again, this is going to seem a little bit dated because I'm pretty sure I'm not going to get this out until at least Friday, as I got to get myself ready to leave. But 19th New York Comic Con. Holy crap. I've been podcasting since before iTunes even had podcasts available. That is insane to me. Also, who even uses iTunes anymore? So there you go. Apple Music, baby. And whatever Android app you're using to listen to this as well. Or Spotify, for that matter. Yeah, Spotify. I get so much out of Spotify. Whatever. I'm glad you guys are listening one way or the other. I'll just say here, just in case this does wind up being its own episode, email address is comictiming@gmail.com. Please join in the conversation at facebook.com/comictiming, in the Comic Timing fan group. We really do appreciate that. And follow us on Blue Sky at Comic Timing, and of course the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Comic Timing Podcast. We're putting out releases all the time. Raf's got his Comics Corner shorts. They're doing a great job, and we've got full-form videos there as well when we do release video content. Here we go. As always, there's always time for comics.